Hi, I'm CJ Elmberg with Transwest Truck Trailer RV in Fredrick, Colorado. We've got a brand new 2026 Cimarron Norstar 5-horse gooseneck air ride sitting behind us here. Now this is not your just typical 5-horse. This has got a lot of extras on it. Now unfortunately, this trailer is sold. This was a custom order by some repeat customers of ours that have owned a Cimarron before and wanted to get into a little bit bigger, a little bit more optioned up trailer, especially with the air ride suspension. So we're going to walk you through this trailer. Before we do that, let's go ahead and take a look at the drawing. I'm going to show you some specs on it. On the floor, this trailer is 27 foot, so still a very manageable trailer to get around, even in a 5-horse. It is 7.6 wide and 7.7 tall, so it is extra tall and extra wide that we're looking at here. Front tack room on this one, it's that dual tack, very popular setup, probably been our most popular setup over the last couple years as far as a tack room goes with this, and I'll show you why and explain that when we start walking you through it. But it's a 5.5 foot short wall with a 4 foot offset. So let's start walking you through the trailer. The first thing on a Cimarron is your all aluminum construction. You have an 8-year structure warranty, a 3-year hardware warranty, and a 1-year no questions asked warranty on your tires. We'll talk more about that. But as we get up to the front here, you're just going to notice this is a wider trailer and a little bit taller. On the nose here, you're going to have that stainless sheet, a couple marker lights up on the top there. They changed that to a standard feature here recently. We were doing that on a lot of the bigger custom trailers, you know, trainer trailers, but they went ahead and started putting them on all of them. It's just a good look to the trailer itself. You're also going to get this. You're going to get this B&W Gooseneck coupler that's rated for 25,000 pounds. This is a really good setup. Cimarron and B&W teamed up years ago. We've evolved on this setup a couple times. This is the 3rd generation. What I like about this is a lower profile handle, and then it has another hole drilled into it. So when we get into these bigger trailers, especially when you get into the bigger living quarters and also trainer trailers, you know, they have the potential to being hauled by a hauler, maybe a semi. And one thing that we always run into is this had a taller handle and we didn't have this hole drilled. So it was really easy to get the trailer running level. Now, again, this is the 3rd generation. It's this lower profile handle. You can kick that guy over. You can actually snap, type of a carabiner if you want to secure it. If you want to throw a smaller padlock on there, you can, just to kind of deter people. But really easy to go ahead and lock. But again, a lot of flexibility on our adjustability to slide that coupler actually into that stem right there. Now underneath the gooseneck, this is a nice air ride trailer. This right here is the single leg Equilizer electric over hydraulic with a manual override. This is awesome. I mean, this is a big tack room, fairly decent sized trailer. Nobody wants to hand crank. So nice to push a button and up and down it goes. This has the manual override, so if something ever does happen where we don't have power to it, I can manually pump this on or off the truck. I know we've had customers tell us stories before. I know we had one here recently that she came and traded in a trailer. It didn't have this. We went with the cheaper version. I'll never do it again. We got burned once when she picked up her new trailer. That was the first thing she went to look at, is did it have this override pump on there. So really good setup there. Spare tires located to the left of that. If you notice and you pay attention, a lot of our inventory, the narrower trailers, the 610 wides, this spare tire with this setup is elevated. And the reason why is because this is a larger footprint than the manual crank. So if we wanted to ever upgrade, it's just a lot simpler to build the trailer with that already done. If not, it adds more money and more time because we've got to cut that foot off, elevate it, re-weld it, get that spare tire up. Now it's out of the way. But when we have a wider trailer, we push that box, out, and it gives us more room for this. This pump located right above it is actually going to be for the electric over hydraulic brakes on this trailer. We'll talk about that when we get back to the axles, but that's that actual pump for that. With this setup, you're going to get the aluminum battery box. So we got a lot going on in here. We've got first 12-volt battery. It's going to power that. It's also going to power our lights. Battery disconnect. This is an important piece because when I park this trailer and leave it, I want to turn this to the off position. It'll kill all power to this trailer. So if we accidentally leave one of these lights on, we're not going to drain the battery down. This black box right here, it's a red arc charger. This is a true 3-staging charger. Your truck works as a trickle charger to this type of a setup, but very slow charging. This Red Arc charger, even the Red Arc reps like our term that we use, this is a supercharger for this battery. So when you plug it into your truck, multiple things happen. We're going to keep this battery nice and charged up. We can see what stage we're in as far as the charging process goes, but it's going to give so much more life and longevity to these batteries because we're going to keep them nice and charged up. Now there's another piece to it that we'll talk about here in a minute, but this Red Arc will also tell us if we have power coming from the truck, which is fantastic. So if we actually have a fuse blown or something along those lines, we can actually tell if we have power coming from the truck itself. Now, over to the right is going to be our onboard compressor. So that is for our air ride system itself. So it's real simple to use. It's on, off, it's lower raise. If you want to know how to operate it and how to shut it down properly, we have condensed video versions we can email to you. A couple minutes, how to operate it and how to shut it down. Basically, when you're pulling this trailer, you have the air ride on, you have in the raised position, whether you have horses on or not. You have it, might as well utilize it. It's a better pull. It's just better ride for you even in the truck, and we'll talk about what it does for the horses here in a bit. But again, self-contained, really easy. We like actually mounting it in this battery box at times, because if not, it gets mounted over here, so it's hard to kind of get to. It's hard to see the gauge, but that is definitely a nice piece there where it's all self-contained. Right here's the switch for the actual jack itself. We've done a video on how to operate it, but one thing that Cimarron's done is right on the side of this jack over here is a sticker that you can actually scan that UPC, and it'll take you to Cimarron's website, and it'll show you how to operate it by the one and only, the world famous president of Cimarron Trailers, Ben Jansen. Now, let's talk about this nose. This nose is 8'2" long. It's a lot longer than a lot of other manufacturers as far as standard. Standard is 8'2". So one, you get a lot more storage up in the nose, but also I love that the way, I think it helps the way these trailers pull, the way they balance out. But then if you're running like a long box and you drop that tailgate, sometimes you have to worry about, if you look right down there, but at that spare and then that hydraulic jack, that kind of sticks out a little bit farther. So it kind of interferes with just being able to maneuver between your truck and the trailer itself. But then when you drop that tailgate, I know in some manufacturers you have to be very careful. You almost have to be perfectly square, and you'll actually butt up against that, or you got to get out and shut the tailgate to get underneath it where you need to. Where on these Cimarrons, you can drop that long box tailgate and you can walk between there. It gives you that much room. Now, another thing on this is this gooseneck drop wall. So one of the challenges in today's world with the newer truck bodies and their styles, as far as like Rams and Fords, they've always had a taller, bed height from ground to the top of the bed. And then GMC a couple years ago changed their body style, so they went taller. So one of the challenges is, and well, I guess I'll tell you a story. A gentleman came in here to buy a trailer with a new Ford. He backed underneath it. We could not get it level and get him the adequate bed clearance, and he drove out of here without that trailer. And we said, we're not doing that ever again. We have to adapt to the trucks. So this typically is a 50-inch gooseneck drop. This is a 53. What it allows us to do is put about any manufactured truck underneath there, level out that coupler, make sure we have plenty of bed clearance, and making sure the trailer's running nice and level for equal weight distribution. So that 53 makes a big difference. Remember, we went 7'7" tall, so we went taller as it is. So really, versus a standard trailer, we didn't lose anything as far as storage goes there. But even on our standard height trailers, so many customers, you never notice it as far as the actual storage area and clearance inside the gooseneck area. But boy, it gives us so much flexibility and really get the trailer set up how it should be as far as running level and bed clearance. So that's a nice feature there. We take it a case-by-case basis, but for the most part, a lot of these using trailers are going to have that 53-inch gooseneck drop wall height. Now, this tack setup, we touched on it earlier, and we talked about how this is that dual tack setup. You can work off of both sides of this trailer. This is fantastic because the couple that's buying this, he might have his horses on one side and she might have hers on the other, and guess what? They can keep their tack on either side as well. So they can work off of the trailer then, rather than having to come over here, grab my saddle, and walk all the way around to that other horse on the other side of the trailer. you know, you can park horses and tie them up where you need them to on the side of the trailer based on where the tack is. But again, it's this dual tack setup. So as far as the setup, they're going to mirror. On the doors themselves, you're going to get this nice 42-inch wide door. I'll tell you why that is here in a minute. But you're going to get this 4-tier blanket pole rack on a gas shock. Brush tray on the door. Throw those smaller items in there. Your fly sprays, your hoof picks, your brushes, all those type of items can go right in there. Fold up step on these doors makes a massive difference. You see where I'm standing and you see where the bottom frame is of that door, that's a healthy step. We're going to be carrying items in and out and just transitioning, just even walking into this tack room. Why not have this step that's going to break it somewhat in half as far as that step goes, transitioning into the tack room. Now, the 42-inch wide door, here's why that is. Swing out saddle rack. Pay attention to this clearance right here. Imagine a big saddle on this. Okay, now imagine this door with a lot of other manufacturers will run like a 36-inch wide door. Well, guess what can happen? Your saddles will drag on this door frame going in and out, and that's not what we want. But in this instance here, 3 saddle racks on this swing out. These are adjustable. You can add more, you can space them, you can take them off, whatever you want. You've got a lot of flexibility there. But now they can access those saddles from right out at ground level. As you come in, this is a newer feature, very, very popular. You're going to see it more and more, but it's this gray rubber floor mat. Instead of carpet on the floor and also rubber, like rubber mats that you'll see in the stall area, this one here is this gray rubber. This stuff is cut and sealed and glued down to the trailer itself. So this stuff is fantastic. I really didn't pay attention to it too much till we started incorporating on some of our trailers. And now if you travel through like airports, you know, you go to places where there's a lot of heavy traffic, you'll notice these on stairs, you'll notice it on walkways. This stuff holds up extremely well, and it's so easy to clean because you can actually just kind of sweep to an area and vacuum it up if you want. But again, a lot simpler process there. Now as we come in, we'll just start up at the nose. Again, we've got 2 windows. Again, it's 7'7" tall, so there's a ton of headroom up here in this gooseneck area. 7'6" wide, so it's wider as well. You got a lot of storage, a lot of capability to throw like a mattress, bedrolls, sleeping bags, those type of items in there. LED light up in the nose. Because of the length, we here at Transwest really like to put, if we can, that light up in the nose. Yes, you'll get them over the doors, but we like one up there. A lot of times we see it just over the doors, and this kind of gets a little bit dark. You have this carpet, those are kind of tinted windows, so yes, you get some natural light in here, but it's a long nose. Let's go ahead and put a light up in there. Clothes bar over to the right hand side, so you can hang clothes there, but then you're also going to get this 18-inch shelf. It's got a 2-inch lip, so it's 18 inches deep. Got a clothes rod underneath there, so you can hang a lot of clothes. So if you're traveling, going to events, you can actually hop in here and change it into show shirts. They don't necessarily have to be hanging and taking up space in the back of your tow vehicle. Hang your garment bags, all those type of items can go right in this trailer and keeping them nice and neat and clean. It's framed for an air conditioner or a camper style crank up vent or a 12-volt vent. It's all the same footprint. So that framework, with that already being done, it'll save you so much time and hassle if you wanted to add those type of items. If you wanted to add like an air conditioner, you have to add the power package to it, but at least that part of it's done. You wouldn't believe how much hassle and how much extra money it costs after the fact if that little piece isn't already done to it. Now on the drop wall, we've got an 18-inch boot box. It's the partial, so it comes about halfway across, but the 18-inch is really nice because of the framework that you have, this little bit of a lip, and the door itself. If you go with a 12-inch, you can't put your larger water buckets in there. If you wanted to actually store your water buckets in these, the 18 inches, you can, so you can set them in there. But another great place for a catch-all, kind of like those brush trays are. Maybe it's tire changing equipment, maybe it's just some miscellaneous stuff that can kind of float around as you're driving. You can keep that here, keep it somewhat organized. It works as a bench too, or a step hopping up actually into the gooseneck area itself. Now you're going to see this piece coming down. This trailer is actually equipped with a 12-volt solar panel up top as well. So that solar is going to keep that battery nice and charged up as well, just continually, which is fantastic. Again, another reason why it's going to give so much more life and longevity to that battery is because with the solar, it's going to keep it charged up. But that's what that piece is there that you're going to notice. Then again, there's LED light, one above each door. And on this trailer, there's switches at each door, which is really nice because you're always going to get one standard switch, but we like to go ahead and do two just because, hey, there's 2 points of access coming in here. So maybe we got stuff stacked up. I can't really reach the switch over there, but I can come in this door and actually turn the lights on. Here's the other swing out saddle rack. I'll show you that when we get to the other side of the trailer. And then on the partition wall, fully carpeted, so it's really going to protect the wall itself, but also protect all of our tack. You know, those type of items will rub against typically an aluminum sheeted, you know, wall, scuffing that up, scuffing up your bits. We don't want that. It'll deaden the noise too. And those are aluminum powder coated, so those are really stout bridle hooks. That's a design that Cimarron's done. I like the height that they put on them, the spacing, and the depth off the wall. I love the height because you wouldn't believe how many times we step into a trailer to look at it for trade-in purposes, and you look in just every, you know, they have so much stuff stacked on their bridle hooks that stuff's on the ground or lead ropes or reins, or, you know, everything's just kind of draped, and they're constantly grabbing them and throwing them back up there. And then behind the swing out saddle rack that I actually swung out at the beginning of the video here is a corner water tank. That's a 25-gallon gravity feed, so it's just fill at the top, empty at the bottom. You have a hose that comes with it, put a ball valve on it, and you can fill your buckets up right outside. Like I mentioned, you go to some events and that hydrant could be a long ways away, and who wants to pack buckets that far? If you got water right here and that guy, you can fill up buckets right from the trailer. It's nice during hot summer months traveling with water. Maybe you have a horse that likes water from home. Those type of items, that is wasted space. We really weren't putting that on there. We started adding a lot of them, and we just started ordering our inventory, having those corner water tanks already built and put on the trailer itself. Now as we come out, on the top rail, a few extra button lights up there, marker lights, and then you're going to notice the 16-inch awning lights. There's one above the tack door, and there's one about center here, stall number 3, kind of about center of the axles there as well. Those shoot down and out, they're LEDs. You're going to have great light coverage. You know, whether you're working off the tack itself or even back here, saddling, unsaddling, in this area where you'd be tying horses. So nice to have those lights. They're not the pedestal style that stick up and protrude off the trailer. You know, we see those get knocked off time and time again if you drive underneath trees or you get into some country that, you know, has some low-hanging items. Those things are really easy to knock off. You don't see that near as much on these because they're on the side of the trailer, protected a little bit more. And then this one here, bus windows on hip side over here. That way, half of that'll open. Nice big bus windows though. In comparison, if you look at these windows versus the ones on that tack door right there, a lot of competitors will run that size window versus what Cimarron does here. So I really commend them for really maximizing the size of windows that we can put on there. Again, airflow is really key and helps everybody stay nice and comfortable. You have tie rings out here, the lower extrusion, so it really protects everything. And then on the axles, so these are two 7,000-pound axles. This is, again, the air ride itself. This trailer's aired down right now. So when we air it up, it picks it up about 2.5, 3 inches. So it gets more clearance. But anytime you're loading and unloading horses, I tell them, hey, go ahead and air it down, because one, the step going into your tack is closer to the ground. The ramp at the back that we'll show you here in a minute, it's not as steep because when it picks it up, it picks everything away from the ground, and again, making that ramp steeper and that step bigger for you. So, but we can air it up, and again, it'll pick it up about 2.5, 3 inches. Again, it has electric over hydraulic disc brakes, aluminum wheels, and then they upgraded to a G-rated tire rather than the 10-ply that comes standard. This one's upgraded to a 14-ply. They also have a 1-year no questions asked warranty on these tires. That's from the date you purchased the trailer. If you catch road debris, you have a blowout, you catch a nail that punctures the sidewall and it can't be patched, they'll stand behind it. Now that's not Cimarron, that's Lion's Head. That's their vendor they use for wheels and tires. So we'll go through them. We can help you out with that process, but you'll go through them rather than Cimarron on that. But this air ride system, we can't say enough good things about it. We're massive believers in it. We have so much inventory in air ride because we believe in it. You spend a lot of time and money on these animals. You want them to go compete at the highest level. You want them to have the best ride, put air ride on it. We can tell you countless stories of, you know, customers saying, I'll never own another trailer without air ride. I can cut a day off of recovery time, you know, because of how well the horses ride on air ride when we go to events. That's less expense on the road. That's less hotel rooms and labor and meals and time away from home. And we've got video of horses actually riding on air ride and non-air ride. Same horse, same spot. We just literally lower it into this setup that it's at, which is rubber torsion axles with that shock kit, and then the air ride bags and the system itself. So if something does happen to a bag, a compressor, a line, it sets where it is right now and you can still drive it. Old air ride systems, you couldn't move the trailer. So definitely a nice feature there. But again, a horse completely 180 on how he acted and how he was riding when he had air ride on versus how he didn't when it was the air ride was off. And we can actually provide you those videos if you want to check some of that out. But unbelievable to have the air ride. Again, the most common response is, I'll never own another trailer without it. All right, so I mentioned the ramp. So there it is, I got it down. So it's a ramp over on this guy. 50/50 rear doors because of the extra width on this trailer, that extra wide. On standard 610 wide trailers, you'll notice a lot of the 60/40 setups. This one here, again, 50/50, giving it a nice big opening at the back here. But again, that ramp over, you know, shoot, you could use this for other purposes, you know, whether it's hauling some toys even, because you have that rear ramp. We'll shut it up when we get done with the video, but we'll walk into this stall area because there's a lot of cool features in here too. This back stall, we added a little bit of length to the trailer to allow this back divider to be solid, and we can actually set it against the wall and shut the rear doors. If not, we'd have to telescope it, or it would stick about there and you could shut your rear doors, so you waste some space. But as you can see, airflow dividers with pads on all these guys. This trailer is tipped towards passenger side. But as you can see, the springs on it are trying to pull it over to driver's side. If we were flat, they would be against the wall. Stud divider between stalls 2 and 3. And then the very front one is another stud divider as well. That front one is solid. Customer wanted it solid, and then airflows behind it. So we went ahead and did that. Again, 2 stud dividers in this guy. Now, one newer feature, it is standard now. We were trying to do it on all of ours with stud gates like this. Because of the added weight, there's just one spring on it. So normally in videos, when we do this, because of the way the trailer's sitting, these stud dividers would stop about here, because again, gravity is trying to pull them this way. But now these are double springs, so spring up top, spring down below. So again, you get this flat and it's pulling these stud dividers against the wall. Now that's a standard feature. But now you've got the capability that if you need to separate a couple horses from each other, or you need to, maybe they want to use this front stall for additional storage at times, it's nice to have the stud dividers, because then it's not, we're making sure things aren't getting underneath horses, you know, feet as we're traveling. But the ride, again, with air ride is completely different on these setups. Everything's got a radius, everything's smooth. One-handed operation is really important to Cimarron. Leading the horse with a leader open hand, I can open and close dividers. Again, they get out of the way, so we don't have to hold the divider open when we're leading them in or unloading horses, either way. So you have these recessed paddle latches. So like I said, horse animal safety is number one. Again, when you start putting your hands, you start touching everything, you start looking at everything, everything has a radius. They want everything to be smooth. We don't want any 90-degree angles, nothing protruding out, nothing sharp. We want to keep horses nice and safe. But the other thing that's nice about that paddle latch is it's a heavy UHMW plastic. So we don't have metal to metal contact between the divider and a paddle latch. You see that on a lot of trailers, is this will be metal. Well, it creates a lot of noise when you're traveling. So this guy here keeps it nice and quiet because of that. You can have a little bit of wheel well. Again, it's 7.6 wide. So you push the box out. Those wheels have to go somewhere. So you have a little bit of wheel well on either side of the trailer with it being 7.6. But you see the kick mats. And then your bus windows with a horizontal jail bars on these guys. And then if you go up, we have 5 of those big OptiBrite LED lights. So what's nice is all the load lights and these stall lights are all on individual switches. So I could turn on passenger side load light if I want, rear, driver side, or just the stall. But as you can see, because of the white sheeting on the walls and then the roof, boy, does it really just brighten everything up here in the stall area. So speaking of the roof, this is the standard roof on every single Cimarron. So it doesn't matter if it's a bumper pull, the big living quarters you see in the background, or like this trailer, they all have it. So it's a 1/2 inch thick, honeycomb design, reinforced. So it's really strong. It'll take 150 pounds per square foot, take substantial hail. The other thing is it's got an R3 thermal value with a gel coating on top. So it'll keep this stall area 20% cooler than aluminum sheeted roofs. So what are we doing? We got big bus windows for airflow. I'm going to show you the drop down windows when we get to the outside on driver's side. Airflow dividers over here. Insulated roof, air ride suspension. Comfort for the horses. This trailer's got it. You also have 2-way roof vents so we can manipulate airflow. With those guys there, it's nice because again, you can actually, at times, if you step into some of these trailers, you might see shavings on the horse's back and you might be like, whoa, we have too much airflow. So you might dial those back, maybe partially open some of the windows. There's windows in the back doors so you can create a vacuum. So again, you can manipulate that airflow and maybe you even have to dial it back at times. But again, that's a fantastic standard feature on every single Cimarron. On the flip side of it, you're going to notice this top part, which is Werm flooring. So they opted, instead of rubber mats, which are standard, to go with Werm flooring, which is a permanent unpenetrable rubber mat. So I don't have to pull mats out of this guy to clean it out. I just muck it out, nose it up a little bit, come through the escape door with a power washer, open the back, and just let it all go out the back there. So really easy. Those mats are like wrestling alligators. They're not fun. This here, you don't have to worry about that. We don't have to worry about that urine getting down to the aluminum, but fantastic upgrade. It's so much cheaper when you're doing it when it's new rather than after the fact. It'll cost you more per square foot, so definitely protecting the investment of this trailer for them by having Werm flooring. What's below that is the industry's best floor, and it is a 12-inch extruded deck piece that locks in high and low, tongue and groove, 4-inch centers with a V-truss in the middle. What is so important about that is, now imagine hoof size of a horse. They're standing on a support beam, if not 2, at all moments when they're on this trailer. You want to tell quality of an aluminum trailer, crawl underneath and look to see how far the centers are spread apart. That will tell you quality. It's just like building a house. You need a strong foundation, and you got it with a Cimarron. Butt strap that goes across, because we have this big opening rather than a bar. The strap itself, so they can actually secure that if they want. But again, this back stall is really large. So not to say they couldn't squeeze on. Maybe they got a companion, like a pony or a little donkey, maybe a mare and a foal they want to throw back here, or they got a couple smaller horses. You can get them on this back stall because it is so much bigger to allow us to go ahead and have that solid divider and shut the rear doors. So the doors are independent. I can shut either one of them. Doesn't matter what order. You do have a load light up at the top, an 8-inch there. Again, all those switches are on this back corner. So again, I can turn all these guys on, but you have that light, those stall lights, and then the load lights on the side. And then on our marker lights, built into them now, a standard feature is a backup light. That's that white X. So when you throw your vehicle, your truck in reverse, you know, this trailer's 27 foot on the floor. Those lights are basically worthless back here. We're gonna be getting somewhere unfamiliar or getting home late at night where it's dark, and it's nice to have that light. And that's built in to all these back marker lights. And then there's your ramp over. Secures out of the way. Really easy to lift with the spring assist on it. then as we work our way to driver's side, there's a good look. We mentioned it. There's the drop down feed doors with the jail bars. So as you can see, a ton of airflow on this guy. We talked about that, really keeping those horses nice and comfortable. These guys here drop down. So all you have to do is lift your window up a little bit. They're in a track that's built on the inside. And then these guys can easily drop. If you need to offer some food, some more feed, some water, whatever you need to the horses, you've got that capability to do that. And then really easy to reinstall there. This is all framework around these windows here. This is really important because these are items you're going to use about every time you use this trailer. We need them to hold up. I see so many trailers with a prefab or very minimal framework around their drop down feed doors. One is, look at the massive opening for airflow, but then you have a massive door that goes over it as well. All of these hinges on the rear doors, these drop down feed doors, have welded hinges with greasers, so easier to maintain yourself. You get a stiff hinge or one that starts making a lot of noise, you can actually put grease to it. You notice this little brass ring right here. Well, that's a rod it's connected to that goes the full length of this actual hinge, and it's got a groove cut into it. Imagine a candy cane, that swirl. Well, you put grease into this guy and you start opening and closing it, and it's feeding the grease throughout the hinge itself. So there's those type of items that we talked about. You know, the framing for an air conditioner, you know, that's already done. This is easier for you to maintain. These fenders are bolt on rather than weld on. So if you do tear up a fender, they're easier to replace because we don't have the time to cut a weld on off and then re-weld one on. It's a lot simpler process as far as that's concerned. On the escape door, you have a drop down feed door. It's a little bit smaller because it's on the door. So you have the framework of the door that we have to work within. So just a touch smaller. But what's nice is you also have these bus windows in them as well. So again, maybe you have too much airflow, maybe it's winter time, maybe you need to kind of seal it up a little bit more and kind of minimize that airflow in there. You can maybe just close these guys up and just utilize the bus windows themselves. So a lot of flexibility there. And then again, you've got the access door going into that first stall, chest bar that goes across it. But again, if they're traveling and they're using this maybe as just storage, you can keep items in here and access them very easily as well. Fold up step on this door as well. You know, with it being 7.6 wide, you have running board, but it's a little bit smaller than what you're used to seeing. Anytime, again, you push that box out, you know, it shrinks some things like this running board on the outside, and then on the inside you get the wheel well. So kind of give and take there, but it's nice to have that step in order to hop into that area as well. Okay, here's the driver's side of that front tack. We were in there and checked all that out. Same thing, 42-inch wide door, 4-tier blanket pull rack on a gas shock, brush tray on the door. Same setup. There's also windows in these doors, again, up in the nose. So if you need to air out that front tack room, you can open those guys up, which is really nice. Fold up step. So same thing we saw on the other side for this 42-inch wide door and a 3-tier swing out saddle rack. Again, adjustable. You can mess with spacing, you can add more, you can take some away. It's completely up to you. One thing I didn't point out on the other side is the other part about a 42-inch wide door is even if this is swung out, look at the spacing I have. Again, a lot of competitors with a more narrow door, you can't get in or out if this guy's swung out. So this is nice. You can still transition between the saddles. That actual saddle rack when it's swung out in the out position, and again still get in and out of the tack room itself. Everything's key to like. So all these doors, drop down feed doors, rear doors, everything is key to like. So only one key to operate and actually lock everything up on this trailer and secure it. Same thing on the tack doors, those welded hinges with grease certs, that's on the rear doors as well. I think that about covers it. Oh, I guess last thing is a couple load lights on the top rail out here. Kind of same thing. So splitting those horses in half, stall number 3 is one of those 16-inch awning lights, and then one above the tack door as well. And you will kind of see just up above the tack room that little tray up there, what it looks like, and that is the solar itself. So again, this guy will stay nice and charged up. So again, unfortunately this trailer is sold, but I'm gonna give you the stock number for reference, because maybe you want it exactly the way it's set up. Maybe you want it in a 4, maybe you want it in a 6. We can build you whatever you want. The stock number is 5N250230. Again, it's a 2026 Cimarron Norstar 5-horse air ride trailer. So a lot of cool features on this trailer. We're really excited to show the customers this one. I know they've been patiently waiting for it, but they can come and grab it here in the next couple days. So again, if you're interested, give anybody on the sales team a call. They can help you out. The number is 303-684-3400. Appreciate you tuning in, and have a good day.